My name is Johnny Johnny. This is Live with Johnny Johnny. I'm gonna put some music on. I'm gonna give it a few seconds to get more people in here. Tell your people.
Do you have any questions or anything before we move on? Anything you want to chat about? Anything on your mind? It's a fun part of a live show. Yes. Oh, I love that. I love how you asked such a deep question in such a bubbly way. Because your tone of voice was really fun. So what's the difference between... Because there I thought you were going to say like, oh, the difference between like summer and spring for you. And you're like, what's the difference between racism in South Africa and racism in the USA? That was like my favorite topic. I will tell you what, I think the biggest difference between racism in America and racism in South Africa is I find that South African racism is and was a lot more blatant. And so there's more of an acknowledgement of it as an idea. And I always say to people, I know it's strange to say this, but I often think that was the greatest gift the apartheid government gave us, is that it was like, it was there, it was happening to you, it wasn't hidden. Do you know what I mean? So you were just like, we don't want this. People would fight, stop this apartheid, it's racism. And then the government would be like, yes, of course it is racism. That's what we're doing to you. The blacks must not do this. But then what happened in America is, you know, you hit that period
He's talking about racism. He's from Africa. I don't know if it's from South Africa, but he's from Africa, and he's talking about saying South African racism and American racism. And right away, one thing that he acknowledged is that their racism was blatant. It was out there. It was saying, yeah, we are racist. Yeah, we don't like black people. You have to understand, they went to Africa. These white people went to Africa. And I'm only describing them because that's the color of the skin. I'm not racist against any white people, but I'm describing them. These white group of people went to Africa and basically colonized Africa like people came to colonize America, but they only colonized a certain amount of Africa. And South Africa is what they colonized. All these white people. And they just basically said, this is our land. We don't even want y'all around us. We you know what I'm saying? And they were able to take all of the resources, all of the money, all of the gold from that particular area. Imagine, they probably went to the most resourceful place to colonize. So, I mean, these white people are extremely rich, AKA Elon Musk, the rich person in the world. They went there and they got all of their African because there's so much. And they made themselves extremely wealthy and didn't give the black people none. Didn't get a. I bet you they were selling resources all around the world, stuff that they didn't even own. It wasn't theirs, but they were taking from Africa. Okay. And if you look at apartheid, it was basically a line drawn. Y'all black over here, y'all white people still over here. That's the way South Africa was. But he's going to talk about how in America, racism is just as bad, but we decide to keep it silent. And that's what I always talk about. We're going to listen to this and we'll come back and talk.
You know, you hit that period where like they started changing things. I don't know if it was around Nixon, and they were like, oh, we've got to be silent about this. And then it wasn't blatant anymore. And so I always thought that's a terrible thing to do to people.
See, it's silent part.
People have to be like detectives of that.
It's the silent part I always talk about. It's the not wanting to say anything. And you even have
like detectives of their own racism. They have to figure it out. You know what I mean?
That are white.
More of an acknowledgement of it as an
they
idea.
understand.
And I always say to people,
not
I know it's strange to say this, but I often think that
as long as I want to, and they understand as long as they want to keep
is that it was
see
there,
the
it was
table.
Too, it wasn't hidden.
That they told,
you know
I believe they've been told by generation,
we don't
not discuss
racism
with anybody other than your own color, because discuss racism with else is going to open
but then
up
what happened in America is
for us to lose our seat at the table.
Where, like, they started changing things.
Does that make sense? So it's like, don't talk about racism. You can be friends with them. You can be cool with them. You can even love them. I
always thought that's a terrible thing.
You can be their best buddy, but don't talk about racism with them in a group of people, because you're going to destroy what we've built up. That's honestly what I feel like it is, because it's always a hush hush racism. They'll talk about everything else. I have people who come on my page and they'll about racism, but then you start asking questions and they disappear.
You'd be like, "Can I get a home?"
But they'll fight for it. They'll stand up for it. They'll stand on it.
And you'd be like, "Why?" And they'd be like,
but then when you ask them about racism and why did they feel this way, then they'll disappear. They fight for it.
And then you just start realizing,
so you know that they fight for it, because if it was something that I didn't care about, I wouldn't say nothing about it. So you know they're very, and they'll jump on it. If I make a post right now, I'll have like,
and it's you get what I'm saying?
7 or 8 white people, black people who really believe what they believe. They'll all jump on the page because they feel
enemy as opposed to one that you have to prove exists. That's probably the biggest difference.
You know what I'm saying? They feel, I gotta protect this thing. And then with the black people, you already have a certain amount of black people who are going to do that same thing. It's just the way of nature. How it was slavery. We you know what I'm saying? We're gonna, some of us know whatever. You know what I'm saying? But they get to a point to where they don't want to talk about it. It's like, let me keep it quiet, then I can continue to benefit off of it. My video stopped playing. Let me see if I can get it to play again.
As an idea. And I always say to people, I know it's strange
to say this, we may have to load it again. Let me try to load it again.
The apartheid government gave us is that it.
Yeah, because some funky stuff was going on.
Do you have any questions or anything before we move on?
Okay, here we go.
Anything you want to chat about? Anything on your mind? It's a fun part of a live show. Yes.
I want y'all to watch it in time. have to
Oh,
stop
I
it
love
because of
that. I love
algorithms
how
and
you asked
things
such a
like
deep
that.
question in
Trying
such a
to
bubbly
avoid.
way. Because your tone of voice was really fun. So what's the difference between... Because today I thought you were going to say like, oh, the difference between like summer and spring for you. You're like, what's the difference between racism in South Africa and racism in the USA? Almost like my favorite topic. I will tell you what, I think the biggest difference between racism in America and racism in South Africa is I find that South African racism is and was a lot more blatant, and so there's more of an acknowledgement of it as an idea. And I always say to people, I know it's strange to say this, but I often think that was the greatest gift the apartheid government gave us, is that it was like, it was there, it was happening to you, it wasn't hidden. Do you know what I mean? So you were just like, we don't want this. People would fight, stop this apartheid, it's racism. And then the government would be like, yes, of course it is racism. That's what we're doing to you. The blacks must not do this. But then what happened in America is, you know, you hit that period where like they started changing things. I know it was around Nixon, and they were like, oh, we've got to be silent about this. And then it wasn't blatant anymore. And so I always thought that's a terrible thing to do to people, because now people have to be like detectives of their own racism. They have to figure it out, you know what I mean? So let me give you an example. In South Africa, the government would just say, blacks cannot live in these areas. You're black, you don't live here. Now you know, I'm black, I don't live here. I don't like it, but I don't live here. You get what I'm saying? But then in America, you'd be like, can I get a home loan? And they'd be like, no. And you'd be like, why? And they'd be like, they'd be like, why can't I? And then you just start realizing, you're like, wow, how come the black people all seem to only be able to get houses in these areas, but not in these areas? And these school districts are better. How come the money is going here? How come? And you get what I'm saying? And I know it sounds strange to say, but I think there's something liberating about fighting an obvious enemy as opposed to one that you have to prove exists. That's probably the biggest difference between America and, yeah.
And that's coming.
Can I just say, what is your name? Katrina, you should be a debate moderator in this country. Because the way you snuck that question in was so chill. You would throw politics.
So it's like they make us prove that there's racism. Like how? No, there's no racism. You didn't know this. You're crazy. You're crazy. You don't know what you're talking about. Like they'll take a perfectly sane black man and tell him he's crazy. You know what I'm saying? It's like in Africa, at least they were bold enough to say, yeah, we don't like y'all. We don't like black people. We don't want y'all eating. But y'all did all this white, don't drink over here in the white fountain. Don't drink over here. We don't want y'all our kids. And like he said, around Nixon, when I was removed, yeah, y'all removed the signs, and y'all, you know, but it's still there. Like, and y'all quiet about it. Like, hey, like he did the perfect reaction. And then you'll have a group of men, I swear they come out and they fight for it. No racism, you're crazy. What are you talking about? And we experience it every day. Damn near. Now, as I'm talking about, the reason why a lot of people dismiss it is because they trained them. Like 2 years ago, and I was telling people on podcast, conservative podcast, they were literally training people how to avoid or just brush it off when somebody call you racist, and you can just do whatever you want to and just feel good about it. Don't worry about people calling you racist. Oh, they're complaining too much anyway. So, you know, so I'm gonna show you this video here. This is like a training, what they were kind of doing. And I was telling people about this. I would play this video on this one, but I'm going to go ahead and play it. So just give me a few seconds as it loads. You got to see that. It's not going to take long at all. So while I do this, we're on 3 different platforms. Leave your name. Leave your name. Leave a comment. Leave a comment. So, you know, and then if people want to inbox me, you can inbox me. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people inbox me, white black, you know, to talk. They don't want to talk to her. They want to inbox me, you know. But it's definitely something that needs to be talked about. I do that money. I don't get paid for this. In fact, doing these type of stories probably hurts my Facebook more than anything. But it has to be talked about. Y'all. Be safe about this stuff. not to talk about. Now listen to this.
Well, there are many unanswered questions about the moment we're living in. It's a very confusing one, but increasingly on the left, there's only one right answer to any question: racism. Racism is everywhere, they're telling us. It's the sum total of everything. For many liberals, charging racism has become an almost involuntary...
This is Fox News. Chuck Lawson. A lot of conservatives watch Fox News, so this is what they listen to like on a daily basis. And this is an old broadcast, but this is really blatant. It's kind of calmed down a little bit, but it's still ratchet. Like, this is the level of you could take any host, and this would be the level of stuff that they. It doesn't matter if it's old. You just take any host from there and their level of speak exactly like this, or maybe some even more. You know what I'm saying? But he was like a king of the person to do it. One thing I went out in this is he's talking about racism, but he's talking about racism to a white person. You see what I'm saying? If you're going to talk about racism, I would think you would talk about racism to a black person so they can explain and then have them there, you know. But he talks about racism as with the white. But I want you
involuntary habit, a tick, like saying "God bless you" after somebody sneezes. They may not even be aware they're doing it. Watch, for example, as noted TV person Jeffrey Toobin reduces the complicated meteorological phenomenon of hurricanes to a single word. Yes, racism.
Isn't the story that these people who died, apparently thousands of them in Puerto Rico, 3,000 as you point out, they're not white people? And they don't count to Donald Trump as much as the deaths of white people. I mean, you hate to say that about someone, but look at his record. Isn't that indicative of who he is and what he stands for?
I don't know.
And even right there, he's not even trying to be mean about it. He's like, look, bro, same. Like, if it was anybody else, I think it would be a major thing. Even with St. Louis right now, like, people died. You feel what I'm saying? But let it be some people die in Florida or somewhere like that, or Texas, and they white people. Like, you won't get that same. You know what I'm saying? And that's all pointing out. But to them, they're like, he's racist, he's racism. Don't, you know? They're not even willing to listen anymore, and that's the problem. Even with the white man telling them. So if you, the white man, can't relate to another white man, how's a black man? You know? We lost. We are so lost with this thing right now. Racism is very big, and they hold on to a deer. Don't let them say that they don't see. They
people who died, apparently thousands of them in Puerto Rico, 3,000 as you point out. They're not white people, and they don't count to Donald Trump as much as the deaths of white people. I mean,
Now, look, I'm sorry. Let me stop again.
He had these people who died, apparently thousands of them in Puerto Rico, 3,000 as you point out, they're not white people.
Okay, so was 1,833 people, which was white and black. Look at Sandy, Harvey. All of these, the last one was in America, where more white people was. Katrina was a little more black people. They was like, that wasn't cared about much. The last one, Marina, was Puerto Rico. That one wasn't cared about much. Y'all, I better start paying attention when it's anybody else. Look at the outrage, or look at the non-outrage. When it's anybody else, when it's Sandy, Harvey, Irina, we gotta send money.
And they don't count to Donald Trump as much as the deaths of white people. I mean, you hate to say that about someone, but look at his record. Isn't that indicative of who he is and what he stands for?
I don't know.
It's not an especially surprising point. Lots of media people say things like this every day. What's so striking about this is that Jeff Toobin is doing it. He's not a bad guy personally. I've always liked him for whatever it's worth. And unlike so many other people you see on television, he is not stupid. In fact, Toobin once wrote the single best account of the O.J. Simpson trial. That's...
Look, and see how he threw some O.J. Simpson in there, like got throw red meat in there to get other people on their side. You know what I'm saying?
Book that these days he himself would likely dismiss as, you guessed it, racist. And that's actually the point. Like an awful lot of other people, Jeff Toobin is a product of the current moment, which also happens to be the dumbest moment in American history. And speaking of dumb, that's actually what the president called Maxine Waters. It's a claim supported by some evidence.
Look.
But to Jeff Toobin...
Dumb. Now, who was the other guy? Was the other guy? The other guy was a reporter. He's not dumb at all. But Maxine is a congressman. Oh, she's dumb as a box of rocks. Whoa, did you just see that? He's not dumb at all. He's a reporter. He's not dumb at all. I like
that about someone.
Maxine
But
Rush,
look at his record. Isn't that indicative of who he is and what he stands for?
I don't know.
It's not an especially surprising point. Lots of media people say things like this every day. What's so striking about this is that Jeff Toobin is doing it. He's not a bad guy personally. I've always liked him for whatever it's worth. And unlike so many other people you see on television, he is not stupid. In fact, Toobin once wrote the single best account of the O.J. Simpson trial. That's a book that these days he himself would likely dismiss as, you guessed it, racist. And that's actually the point. Like an awful lot of other people, Jeff Toobin is a product of the current moment, which also happens to be the dumbest moment in American history. And speaking of dumb, that's actually what the president called Maxine Waters. It's a claim supported by some evidence. But to Jeff Toobin, well, you can imagine.
But just how about this Maxine Waters stuff over and over again, low IQ? How racist is that?
Toobin didn't explain how that's racist. In fact, if you need to ask, you imagine.
You see, but who just told him? I mean, because they telling you the stuff y'all saying is damn near right. How are you calling her? What is your reason for calling her dumb on TV in front of everybody, in front of her kids, her cousins, her mother? She's still alive. Her brothers. You calling her dumb? We didn't do that. That was grade school shit. We old enough to understand that adults are dumb. Most adults, especially adults who have education, first of all, but the average adult is not dumb. We know that. Go around calling adults dumb. It's a box of rocks. We don't do that. Unless you just really don't have no respect for that person. Hey,
the best account of the O.J. Simpson trial. That's a book that these days he himself would likely dismiss as, you guessed it, racist. And that's actually the point. Like an awful lot of other people, Jeff Toobin is a product of the current moment, which also happens to be the dumbest moment in American history. And speaking of dumb, that's actually what the president called Maxine Waters. It's a claim supported by some evidence. But to Jeff Toobin, well, you can imagine.
It's supported. Bro, did you hear that? It's a claim. Her being dumb is a claim that's supported. How would you ever talk to... Bro, listen how they taught us. They took all the black anchors damn near off the air. Y'all not paying attention. They dumb. They DI. They don't... Man, y'all better watch this shit. Y'all... No, you can't say I'm making it up. You see it.
That's a book that these days he himself would likely dismiss as, you guessed it, racist. And that's actually the point. Like an awful lot of other people, Jeff Toobin is a product of the current moment, which also happens to be the dumbest moment in American history. And speaking of dumb, that's actually what the president called Maxine Waters. It's a claim supported by some evidence. But to Jeff Toobin, well, you can imagine.
But just how about this Maxine Waters stuff over and over again, low IQ? How racist is that?
Toobin didn't explain how that's racist. In fact, if you need to ask, you probably voted for Donald Trump, which means you're racist too.
You know what?
I can explain how it's racist. If you give me if you had him on, he can explain how it's racist. If you ask any black person, they can explain how it's racist. But you're not talking to a black person. You're not even having him on. So he might be explaining it. Bro, they just saying like dismiss it. Don't worry about it. Stop hearing to the world. When they come up to you, oh, you racist, brush it off. That's what they telling people. It's a training one-on-one course they give people.
A lot of people like the fact that he's racist. And that's the thing that we need to acknowledge.
So how racist is Donald Trump? So racist that when he criticizes a group of political extremists comprised almost entirely of upper middle class white kids, that's racist too. Huh? Well, yeah, because the white kids wear black clothing. Get it? Black clothing. Which, of course, Trump hates because the clothing is black. Racism.
Now look at all those white kids in black clothing. I don't even know what's going on there, but it looks like somewhere where I wouldn't want to be. I didn't even know this stuff happened. But he's showing us like this stuff happens. They get together and go out and burn shit like this. These white kids dressed in all black. Now I said this is old video, so I'm imagining it's still going on. But this is what they do. I don't even know this. But imagine black kids dressed in black, going out on Fridays and Saturdays, burning shit. Bro.
Let's be clear also about what's...
It's wear black clothing. Get it? Black.
Look at it.
Well, yeah,
and they don't say
the
about
white,
it's cool
you're racist too.
They don't feel nothing
You know what?
about...
A lot of people like the fact that he's
too.
racist. And that's the thing that we need to acknowledge.
So how racist is Donald Trump? So racist that when he criticizes a group of political extremists comprised almost entirely of upper middle class white kids, that's racist too. Huh? Well, yeah, because the white kids wear black clothing. Get it? Black clothing. Which, of course, Trump hates because the clothing is black. Racism again.
The fact that bro, there's so much up. Like you being racist with the black clothing shit. Like you try to be funny, but the shit ain't coming off funny at all. You're trying to be sarcastic. That whole point with them white kids, you're trying to be sarcastic. But it would piss me off. Because first of all, and I'm gonna break it down because I know some of you. Why are you? I'm gonna break it down. And like I said, we would be allowed to gather like that. If more than 6 kids dressed talking about hoodie up, they're gonna be questioned. Like we talking about 20, 30, 50 white kids dressed in black, hooded up, just see your eyes and burn shit. Like these kids on the street, shit, they're just walking around with because they think it's cool, and they get harassed. Y'all burning shit and it's cool. That's the first thing. That's what you don't see. If you were talking to somebody, I'm talking right now. If he was to talk to me, then he'll see, damn, they really don't get away with shit. No, it's totally different. You understand that, but you don't even want to have that conversation. I was gonna say a lot of people don't even want to have that conversation. They just want to know what they know. They want to believe what they believe, and as long that gives them comfort. I'm right, they must be wrong, so I can sleep. But bro, y'all are really being ignorant into another man's and another man. You know what I'm saying? I ain't never been no whiner. There's been plenty of times it's been some shit and we just brush it off. I ain't never been no whiner. So for somebody to say, "Oh, well, he's a whiner," bro, and that's the thing. When you black, you don't get to be no whiner. Because who gonna listen to you? Who? Other black people? White people? Who gonna listen to you? You gotta deal with it. You gotta take it. You gotta raise your kids on how to survive in life without being. So you gotta deal with it. There's no such thing as us being whiners because we call out racism for what it is. That's not whining. That's reality. And there's no way it's gonna get better. And I don't even call it out all the time. But I know I'm just saying that's my point is it's there. I don't call it out, but it's there. That's all I'm saying. So you can't say that I'm picking on one individual thing. No, I'm not doing that. I'm saying it's there, right? So I have to do this so my kids don't experience it. Because the people before me, my ancestors did it, so I don't have to experience it that much. It's just that people are so stubborn, they don't want to let it go. They supposed to have wiped that shit out. But some people want to hold on to it. We still gonna bring back the Klan. The Klan just went to the neighborhood, 2 black neighborhoods. The Klan just in white hoodies. They don't want to let it go. Your friends who are not in hoodies, shh, be hushed. I'm not saying they're racist. I didn't say that, but they allow it to fester as long as they're quiet. You protected as long as you're quiet.
Let's be clear also about what's going on here. The theme here is, I'm Donald Trump, and I'll protect you from the scary black people. Antifa is widely perceived as an African-American organization. This is about black versus white. This is about Donald Trump's appeal to racism.
In yet another cable television appearance, Toobin called Donald Trump racist for criticizing Elizabeth Warren, who, like those Antifa kids, is also white but also doesn't want to admit it. Pretty funny. Someday we're going to wake up, though, from all of this insanity and wonder what the hell happened. How did we get so stupid? Video clips like these will make for very embarrassing time capsules, like that bad tattoo on your leg or that tape of the rehearsal dinner when you got too drunk and insulted the bride. It seemed like a good idea at the time. Ugh.
So, I'm just saying, y'all see how it's looked at. I'm going to leave it with that. I'm out.